Despite their leader's bravado, Putin's forces are struggling to translate their dominance in infantry into decisive advantage over Ukraine. Donald Trump's message, or rather, the message he transmitted from Vladimir Putin to Volodymyr Zelensky in Washington on Monday was stark. Accept the deal Russia is offering, because otherwise you'll lose the war. But if Moscow appears strong now, Ukraine and its European allies believe, it's partly because Trump's choices have made it stronger, namely, his decisions to curtail US military aid, interrupt intelligence sharing, and above all, accept Putin's insistence on a peace deal before a ceasefire. And in fact, Russia is far from battlefield supremacy. Just hours before the Oval Office discussions, the British Ministry of Defence declared it would take 4.4 years of fighting at current rates of advance for Russia to capture the remainder of territory it has annexed. It would also, according to the MOD calculations based on Ukrainian estimates of Russian casualties, cost Russia an additional 1.93 million killed and wounded to achieve Putin's goals. That would be on top of the more than 1 million casualties it has already sustained. In other words, Russia could be headed for breaking points of its own. All of which raises the question, if Trump chose to throw his weight behind Ukraine, could he change the tide? Should the US president be asking not how much Ukraine must surrender, but how long Russia can last? Sam Green, professor of Russian politics at King's College London, points to two potential Russian breaking points, the military and the economic. Predictions about when either will come has become something of a mug's game, he cautions, nor should we underestimate Russia's capacity to keep going. But eventually they do reach a pinch point. There are strains on the economy. There are strains on the military. A breaking point will come, he says. Because Trump is in a hurry, Putin has the ability to sort of shift that sense of emergency so that, all of a sudden, it feels like this sort of political breaking point for the West. Whereas if there was a little bit more strategic patience and consistency from the White House, the opposite would actually be true. A meeting between Vladimir Putin and Trump took place in Anchorage, Alaska last week. The British Defense Intelligence assessment about the Russian rate of advance is meant for public consumption rather than real strategic analysis. Applying the same crude logic to British military performance in the First World War, one might have said in early 1918 that the Allies were decades from victory.